Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Tiffany and today I wanted to talk about empathy. There are a few different points that I wanted to hit on today. So first I want to touch on what is empathy. I also want to talk about holding space for others and how to empathize in a way that doesn't drag you down or keep them down. And I will also include an exercise that I learned for releasing negative emotions that you've taken on from others. And then lastly, I want to talk about empathy being something that includes sharing in others' joy. So if that sounds interesting to you, keep watching. First, I want to define what is an empath, because I hear a lot of people label themselves as an empath, and well, only about 2% of the population in the world are empaths. And that doesn't mean that 98% of us are not empathetic. Now, this is also like a spectrum, right? So there are people that are more empathetic and less empathetic, but if we're talking about an empath, that's only 2% of the population. That's about equal to psychopaths in the population. And the reason I like to clarify this is because to be human, for the majority, right, for the vast majority of the human population, is to be empathetic. Most of the world is empathetic, and I actually think that that's a really great thing. Empathy is why we can enjoy movies and shows and books and stories about people and root for somebody and want them to succeed, be hurt when they're hurt, share in their longings and hopes. And this is also why, emotions are contagious. Emotional contagion is a real term. I think anger is an emotion that is extremely contagious, right? Being around angry people, it triggers it in you. And that's true of a lot of emotions as well. We as humans magnify emotions, especially when we are together or sharing in the same emotion. And that can be negative, right? When we're talking, well, maybe not. It can be negative when we're talking about like violence, but sometimes anger is justified. And if we have anger that is amplified within a whole group, that is more powerful. Also, positive emotions are contagious and magnified when we are with other people. So this is why we love to tell our good news with close friends or loved ones. It expands the joy of that thing for us and for them when we share in it together. Empathy is our ability to understand another person, to feel what they feel, and to show compassion and understanding for another person. Whereas sympathy is more about understanding what someone else is going through, but from your own perspective. Sympathy is less connected. It is more about I'm still thinking from my perspective, but I can understand that you're having your perspective. So that's the distinction between empathy versus sympathy. Okay, so taking on others' pain. I think this is something that I have seen many people do. I used to do this a ton back when I was younger. It's still something that I have to catch myself on. But I remember a lot of times in like middle school or high school that my friends would be going through something really hard, whether problems at home, relationships, whatever, and they would talk to me about it, and I would want to be there for them, but I didn't have any power to do anything about it, and I just felt so heavy and weighed down by all of these negative things that were going on, and trying to shoulder the burden of these negative emotions that really wasn't mine to carry. I couldn't do anything with it besides just feel sad with them and for them. So this is the exercise that I needed back then, that I think, and this understanding that would have really helped me in that situation. Understand that you cannot heal other people's pain for them. As much as we wish we could, that is not a possibility. And shouldering that burden doesn't lighten their load, because they still have to do it. They still have to do the healing work. So understand that you're not actually lightening their burden by just putting it on your shoulders as well. Yes, venting and having somebody to talk to can be helpful, and we'll go over that in the holding space on how to do so, how to listen, how to be there for somebody in a way that is conductive and allows for them to feel without just magnifying the negative feelings and taking on a lot of it yourself. Like I said, I wanted to help, and I didn't have the power to, and that inability made me want to try and carry some of the sadness myself. But you cannot heal other people's pain. They are the ones that have to go through it, process it, feel it, and they are the ones that ultimately come out the other side. So it is the compassionate thing to give them back these emotions. And I know that feels wrong, right? If you want to be helping somebody out, or if someone's in pain, you want to take that pain away. But again, the only person that can do that is them. And you need to help them accomplish that by giving back their emotions so that they can do the healing and get through it. So give it back so that it can be released by them. Healthcare workers and police and social workers all experience higher levels of depression, and they're exposed to a lot of negative experiences and emotions in their lines of work. So if that is you, or if you have a line of work that puts you in the face of a lot of heavy emotions or experiences of people, then this is something that I really recommend paying attention to and trying to clear out regularly, and pay attention to it, because it does build up. And I know that this sounds, and the exercise that I'm going to give, I know that this sounds like woo-woo energy type of thing, but the heaviness that I felt from taking on all of these people's sadness, that was not woo-woo. Like, that was very real, that was very heavy, that was very hard. And so this did help me a lot, so that's why I want to share it. Here is the exercise that I learned and would recommend to you. So put your hands on your heart. Now breathe. Just become aware of the natural breath. Notice your breath, whether it's in your mouth or your throat, your nose, your belly. Release any tension. Now, dear universe, if I have intentionally or unintentionally taken on any energies from people, any beliefs or distortions, any fears, I now ask you to lovingly return it to sender. And I do this with love, knowing that it is them and only them who can heal this. It was never mine to begin with. I return it back to them so that they can heal through it and alchemize it. I'm asking if any energy of mine has been left behind, I call it back to me so that I can heal it, transmute it, alchemize it. And knowing that we are all here on our own journey, and we must all do our own healing, our own inner work. We do this with love and kindness always. And with that, so it is. So that was the exercise. I heard that first from Mina Irfan, so full credit to her for that. So now I want to go into holding space for somebody. Holding space for someone means that you are empathizing with somebody, that you recognize that they are going through it, but knowing that they have the ability to get through this and to alchemize what they are experiencing into something good, powerful, life-changing, something that makes them grow. And this doesn't mean that you shove positivity down their throat or cut them off at the knees when they're trying to talk about the negative emotions that they're experiencing or the negative experience that they had. But it's just the way that you listen to them is from a place of recognizing that they are powerful, they have the ability to get through this, and yes, this is hard, and not being afraid of their emotions. What I mean by that is sometimes you may notice that you have a hard time handling it when someone else is feeling bad, and you are uncomfortable with them feeling bad, and so you want to change how they're feeling so that you don't feel uncomfortable anymore. I feel like parents do this often with children without meaning to, right? You're like, no, don't be sad, smile, trying to convince somebody to feel differently. And that isn't what I mean by holding space. Holding space is being there with that person, being present to how they're feeling, using your empathy to connect with what they are going through, but always keeping a part of you that is rock solid in your belief that, yes, this is really tough, but I know you've got this. And I know that you're going through it, and I'm here with you, and that's all you have to do. And I hope that I've painted the distinction between holding space for somebody else versus taking on somebody else's pain. Being there for other people, but doing it from an empowered place where you are aiming for them to be able to help themselves. I do think it's important that even when you are just holding space for somebody, that you take a moment afterwards and make sure that you release anything that you have been holding on and do a mini version of the return to sender exercise. Because as much as we want to not be taking on other people's emotions, like I said, emotions are contagious. So just taking that moment and checking in can be really helpful. The last thing I wanted to talk about is that empathy also means sharing in other people's joy. And I have found that sometimes people are good at empathizing with other people's negative emotions, but they are not as good at empathizing with their positive emotions. And to me, that feels more like it's a mirror of your own emotional state rather than a true reflection of what that person is feeling. So practicing recognizing when those around you are joyful and looking to see if you can amplify that within yourself even more. Can you feel joy for the thing that they are feeling joy? There is a term in Sanskrit called mudita. The definition of mudita is the pleasure that comes from delighting in other people's well-being or joy. So joy from other people's joy. And I love that there's a word for that. And I would challenge you to try and cultivate that within yourself even more, right? I think watching babies laughing on YouTube is like, people love that because they're so cute and innocent. But can you amplify the joy that you see in others when you're walking down the street, when you have a little interaction with someone, when you see friends at the mall and they're laughing together, can you get joy from that as well? And I do think that this is something that can be practiced. So can you practice amplifying the positive feelings and sustaining them, right? How long do you let those positive feelings wash over you? Because I think a lot of us are pretty good at letting other people's negative emotions wash over us and stay, right? That's what I was experiencing when I was in middle school, high school. But I was not as good at allowing the positive emotions that I was observing in others, or that I could tell that they were feeling. I didn't let it sink in quite the same way. I just wanted to finish with that empathy can be beautiful and uplifting just as much as supporting or being present with someone who's going through the negative things as well. Empathy can be beautiful. Thank you so much for watching.